Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. This episode, we diving back into the scary movies of 1988. We'll be discussing Child's Play, Pumpkinhead, and Serpent in the Rainbow. I'm your host, Michael, and my co-host, Kersey's on the other side.
Hey, how's it going?
That's all the energy I had. All right, bye everybody. I'm going to go take a nap now.
Sounds good. I haven't had any caffeine either, so
Nope.
It's going to be, for all you fans, this is going to be our lowest energy episode ever, so get ready to hit record.
Yeah, I have actually a lot of caffeine in me. I'm pumping in right now. My thing is, the minute I go outside, I feel like I'm just in, you're walking into a shower or a sauna. It's so thick. And you're just like, and then you're just soaked. You're fucking soaked. It's ridiculous. I was out in the yard for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and I came back in. I was like, what the? I gotta change again, damn it.
Yeah, that sounds like when I was in Vegas in the summer.
Yeah, I've only been there in the
sounds
winter.
exactly like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm peeling my nutsack off my thigh like it's an old color form.
Yep.
Now to gross you out, let's gross you out anymore.
You're peeling it off your leg, and you're like hoping there's not going to be a Popeyes cartoon on there when you're done.
Like
It's a Venture Bros reference for anyone who's a fan.
Silly putty. Let's start off with, I think, the weakest of the three is Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, I probably agree.
Yeah, I know it's a cult classic, and I think it's only a cult classic for two things. The involvement of Stan Winston and Lance Henriksen. Other than that, it's kind of generic. If he didn't create that very memorable monster, and Lance Henriksen didn't give a pretty damn good performance, it's pretty cheap garbage.
It's like they took the xenomorph costume minus the head and just spray painted it brown, which is the most uninteresting color.
And honestly, it probably is, because it's all the same crew.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah, and MGM probably hired him to do it because this is when MGM had no money. They were completely broke. They lost their entire catalog. So all their movies that weren't United Artists, which is their other division with the real money, if it says MGM on it, /UA, or just MGM, guaranteeing you it's under a $5 million horror film or something like that, because they really did not try during this period. And I'm guessing they go, well, Stan Winston can do special effects that look great for dirt cheap. They probably shot this, I'm guessing, for just $1 million or so, because it's it has atmosphere. I'll say this: Stan Winston kind of underrated as a visual. He only did, I think, 3 movies. I think he has a really good eye for creating atmosphere. He does have a mythos in this they kind of try to build on, but it's still very little. And you can tell because the sequels after this don't do anything to build on the mythos, and they're complete and utter shit.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, by the way, people. 3 sequels. All
I mean, there's not very far you can go with the premise. It's pretty simple. It has defined rules, but there's not that many. It's just basically one.
Yeah.
Like, once you summon it, you can't stop it. That's pretty much it.
What did he think he was doing? He's like, this is not what I meant. This is wrong. But his southern accent's crazy, by the way. I love it.
It was great. It was so good.
I was like, what did you think you were going to do? All the stuff leading up to this moment, what did you think was going to happen? You wanted revenge. There you go.
Maybe you just wanted revenge on the guy that actually killed his son.
Oh, so he was more singularly minded on that one person, not realizing he was going to kill all the kids. Okay.
But then again, he doesn't know who did it, so I guess...
Yeah.
It's got a little vague. I don't know.
Yeah, this is real hillbilly country. I mean, we're talking way in the sticks. The hills have eyes. Those guys seem sophisticated in comparison.
Oh, who was his neighbor played by? He was in a lot of movies. He was in They Live. Homeless guy.
Oh yeah, Buck Flower, George Buck Flower. If you look up his IMDb, he's littered. He was a big Carpenter go-to kind of guy.
He's in almost all of them.
I love it when he gets all fancy and They Live later. It's like, kids, we're living the high life. You gotta join them.
I don't think I ever see him as a dapper fellow in any movie I've seen him in.
Yeah, and honestly, the accident. It literally is an accident. It's even he says I've been drinking. I was like, it doesn't matter if you were drinking. This still probably would have happened because the other guy almost hit him and he's sober.
Yeah, well, I think that's the argument they were trying to make too. So to be fair, he was also inebriated, which probably means he was not, in his best headspace to be making decisions.
Yeah, he kind of goes psycho after that too. It's like, well, why aren't you calling? They might have been able to save the kid. I don't know if he hadn't fucked around. That's maybe he shouldn't have been in charge of calling. Duh.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically a one-man show for Lance Henriksen. eat the scenery basically, and I'm having a hard time believing that a bullet to the head isn't gonna stop him. He shoots himself right in the brain, and then he's just like.
Yeah.
Like if you were, you'd still be like, you're like, but he's still like, get the gun, and then, yeah, mostly it's just about that, and I really don't have much to say. It's just a revenge thriller gone wrong. Like you reap what you sow.
Yeah, man's son is accidentally killed, and then he calls on a witch to enact revenge, and then he's like, actually, you know what? I disagree with my revenge, and then has to sacrifice himself to save the last child. So
what was going to happen? As they looked like they were switching places, like he was turning more demonic and Pumpkinhead was turning more human. What eventually was going to happen? Was Pumpkinhead going to turn human? I
never really even thought about it that much. I just more thought about like once the last death is done, like the connection will be severed and then he'll be fine afterwards.
Maybe.
I thought it more of like a crisis of conscious thing where he's like. Since he has to be in the shoes of Pumpkinhead for so long, he's like kind of being connected a little too much.
I feel like because his face was morphing from Pumpkinhead into Lance Henriksen's, and then his eyes were changing. He was becoming more demonic. I almost wondered if you had let it go further, would Pumpkinhead be hiding amongst us in human flesh, like he would look just like one of us, but he had I don't know.
I guess maybe you could make a sequel out of that. That might be an interesting area to explore. I'm sure they didn't, but...
Oh, yeah, and then it was like, if you become like a plague or whatever, and then it's called Pumpkinheads. Like, they're amongst us, they're taking over.
Yeah, I can see that.
Invasion of the Pumpkinheads?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, let's fuck these sequels. Let's go write our own sequel. Let's make it really crazy, like unlimited budget.
Yeah, why not?
So our second film, I think, Serpent the Rainbow is one that, yes, technically it was more successful in theaters than I think people remember, but no one talks about it because it's unlike any other Wes Craven film.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the obvious things that he usually has in his, where it seems like a lot of his movies were trying to create new characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that the third act kind of fits a Wes Craven ending, but
it is more cut like an action movie. Like he changed the language of a lot of horror films because with Elm Street, it was faster paced because he has that final showdown with Freddy and Nancy, but also that he moved it from slashers to rubber reality, and then Scream is where he has was it Patrick Lussier, the editor, to do the attack sequences as if they were kung fu, almost like kung fu editing. You know what I mean? It's this really fast paced action setting. And this one is a weird mixture because like they're not trying to sell like a major villain, really. I mean, you do have the thing at the end, of course, but not the way that like he did with Deadly Friend and Shocker and some of the other ones. Or is it kind of that raw, urban or rural kind of, the way he did with Hills Have Eyes and The Last House on the Left and stuff like that? It's an oddball. It's kind of like the way he did Swamp Thing, where that's just a weird oddball film in his catalog that doesn't really fit in with the other things, but obviously this is superior in every way to Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing sucks, people. I'm sorry.
I would say that this shares a lot of similarities with Angel Heart in a way.
Yeah. Well, there's hardly any voodoo movies, really. I mean, stuff that deals with the Bayou or Jamaica and that kind of stuff, and I can count them maybe on my hands. That third, technically, is a Tales from the Crypt movie only because they bought the rights to the name. There's the Kevin Williamson movie Venom, this, Angel Heart.
I think Ragdoll counts. I don't know
what that is. Is that one of those full moon movies?
No, it's like a doll thing, but it's a voodoo. Like they do voodoo on the doll that commits the murder. So it kind of like blurs the line between voodoo and doll slasher.
Yeah, and this one really taps into the kind of, is this a dream or reality kind of thing that he would do in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies so well. And I think Bill Pullman, I mean, this is his showcase. He's really... Yes. And no one ever talks about him in this context. They usually talk about him either in the comedic stuff, because that's where he started, or the big studio, like, Independence Day and Casper and stuff like that. And I thought this was a hell of a performance, and I wish that he would do more movies like this. Or maybe he has, and I just don't know they exist.
That could be the case too. Yeah. So for anyone who is unfamiliar, the premise is that he's like more of an anthropologist, right? I mean, he's
Yeah, he works for a drug company, and they want him going down there to find out about this legendary drug that they've heard about, where it can put you under, so they can do surgeries and stuff like that. But here's the problem with the drug is that you still feel everything, so it's not really like anesthesiology or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's not really an effective anesthetic.
So why do they want it? That's what I'm.
Well, because they can alter it or any of that kind of stuff. It shows very promising results in that it can keep you under for like 24 hours.
Yeah, but are you really under? Because he said that he could still feel everything, he could hear everything, he just couldn't move. That seems more like a torture device, something you'd hear about in Guantanamo.
Right, but I'm saying is like the fact that you can stay under for that long and not move is very impressive. So they're gonna they can try to alter it to make you feel less pain, but it has a lot of applications that can be used. That's why they want it. They also don't know if it's real or not, so that's why they send him out to try to figure out what's going on.
It's interesting because there's a lot of there's all that metaphysical stuff. There's also a lot about corruption, political corruption and the secret underworld that they have. I think the whole thing is very fascinating to me. The part where they're at the carnival or whatever you want to call it, there's guys people just eating glass or eating fire, and it's like this big festive thing to them, and I was like, that is fucking bizarre. You never see anything like that around here. Maybe a little bit like in New Orleans, but
Nolans.
I can't. How do you say it? New Orleans? I feel like I'm really Caucasianing that up. It's not even a fucking word.
And in The Simpsons, they pronounce it New Orleans.
Okay.
So.
Where are we at? I'm just constantly embarrassing myself.
Okay, so anyway, he's trying to find out whether or not this thing is bullshit. But the thing about it is that it kind of mixes more reality. Like, this powder isn't really voodoo powder. This person is just like making it and then making people think they're zombies, so that way they'll kind of like do his bidding. But there also is real magic in this world too.
Yeah, because
so
he has the hypnotizing stuff. Like when he's just tapping on the glass in a rhythmic way, he can make people go crazy. It's wild.
Even people from hundreds of miles away.
Yeah, I don't even know how that's even possible. How did you do that if it's not? Yeah, it has to be magic, because if it's triggered by a sound, well, that person there's no way that person could hear it, because that lady at the dinner when they're back in America,
Yeah, when she was eating the glass and tried to kill him.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? He didn't have like a lock of her hair or anything. So how did he know that she was there with him at the time? Like, there's a lot of questions to be asked about this movie, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still very intense and it's still really well made.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours long in the original cut. Thank God that's not available, because I don't think I could. They cut it down to a little under 100 minutes, so I think it moves pretty efficiently and it gives you the information you need. So.
Yeah, there might have been probably in the 2.5 hours. They probably explained a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
and that might take away some of the mystery of it.
I think because it does fuck with reality. I think that being a little more vague, it helps the film.
Yeah.
Some of the practical effects in this are really good. I mean, I know that they're puppets, but like that one where it's just grabbing its own jaw and ripping it open, but then the snake shoots out. I was like, that's fucking great.
Oh, and the rubber arms coming out, it still looks good. Like, I'm not complaining. When he's in basically like an alternate version of an insane asylum and all these arms are reaching out to grab him. Oh, that was so fucking cool.
You know what? I remember there was another movie that he did in '81 that kind of messes around with stuff like this. And it's deadly boring, though. Actually, it's called Deadly Blessing. But it's like Amish magic or something like that, and they put curses on each other, and it has a little bit of the feel of this movie too.
Do Amish people have a belief system that involves magic?
I don't know. I can't remember the movie. I haven't seen it like in 10 years, but if I ever find it, I'll give you a link to it, because it's a very strange movie. But it's like, like these they're not literally Amish, but they're like they're kind of like that, like the Quakers, but
just living on their own kind of thing.
Right, yeah, and they have like this evil curse that they put on, like, oh, you came to our forbidden lands, or whatever, we're gonna curse you. And it has Sharon Stone in, I think, one of her very first movies. All right, so let's talk about the big one here. The big
The
hit,
one that everyone knows.
the franchise launcher, the one that still to this day confuses me, and I finally looked up why. Child's Play was at a studio that was desperate for a hit. I just mentioned it, MGM UA, desperate for anything that would make them successful. And Child's Play cost like I think $8 million. It made 30 something in America, massive overseas, massive on video. 2 years later, we get a sequel from Universal Studios, and I've been trying to figure out why. The guy who owned the MGM was going to sell it to a very conservative company in Australia, and he dictated absolutely no horror films. So there was a loophole that if they, denied the sequel, whatever, they were allowed to shop it to another studio. So David Kirshner took it over to Universal. So MGM still owns the remake rights. They own the name Child's Play. So that's why after that whole contract ended, but it's still owned by Universal now. Universal permanently owns Chucky. That's why everything now is just called Chucky instead of Child's Play. It's so confusing, but I can't believe MGM just blew it like that. Here's the funny part. The guy never actually bought the company.
Oh.
He was in the dealings, whatever.
This industry is too confusing. I don't know.
It is. The dealing almost went through, and they had already sold the rights to Universal, and turns out the guy was a complete and absolute fucking fraud and went to prison. This company completely collapsed. Now let's talk about the movie. Director of Fright Night, Tom Holland, comes back after flopping a little bit with Fatal Beauty, which was an action movie with Brad Dourif and damn it, Whoopi Goldberg. Decides to go back to the horror genre, and I tell you what, he knocks it out of the park with this one. It should not be scary. It should be fucking stupid, but he does such a good job, and I think the special effects, they help so much.
Yeah, it's very subtle at first. Like, you don't really even see Chucky being alive until halfway through the movie, maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe more. I think it's like a 90-minute movie, and we almost make it to the 65-minute point before he. And this isn't counting him rolling around.
Or just standing up and talking.
Yeah,
like a full-on movement is quite a bit in.
When she's ready to put him in the fire to get him to talk, and he's like, "You fucking bitch."
Yeah, I mean, what a scene too. Like, I know it's coming, but it's always intense when I watch it.
Yeah, well, you already know about Chucky. See, I didn't know anything about it the first time I saw the movie. Someone had told me that it was really good, and the sequel was coming up, and we went to the video store and picked it up. And I mean, he's on the cover with a knife. It's different. I think he's on the cover with a knife, the VHS cover.
Yes. The second one is when he has a pair of scissors on a Jack-in-the-Box.
Yeah, which I had that sticker in my locker. Back off, Jack. Chucky's back. But the original poster is more ambiguous because it just shows the building they live in, and then you just see the eyes in the sky. So I kind of knew that something was going to happen because he's walking at the cover with a knife in his hand. But I did not in any way expect that reaction. I didn't even know special effects could be that good back then.
Yeah, it was impressive. And again, this is one of those that this is technically voodoo, but also doll movie kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Because, he uses that. It's very interesting. It starts off as an action movie. You're not sure what's going to happen because...
Yeah, it's a cops and robbers.
Yeah, and which is funny because the last movie that Tom Holland did, Brad Dourif was on the run from cops. So I was like, oh, did he survive? This is a sequel? But yeah, it's a slow burn where it's kind of like a family drama. And, the mystery around what's happening. But once it just lets go... Holy fucking crap! And he's attacking him in the car, and just he's just a mean little bastard.
The fucking asshole.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he's just almost like the Terminator. He's a 2-foot tall Terminator, makes this amazing because even when that guy picks up the head, and he's like, "What the fuck are you even talking about?"
Yeah.
And puts it on top of the TV, and the thing busts out of it's kind of laughable to think that it could even hurt him. But we've already gone this far, so why not?
Right, we kind of already gone past that. Like, we understand that it's whatever his soul being trapped inside his doll still gives him kind of the strength of a full-grown man. At this point, I mean, they kind of go a little crazier with it in the sequels of him just being like a Superman, but for the first movie, it is a little more a little more grounded. I would say that he soaks up gunshots because he's not really like totally inside of the body yet, so he still kind of has that ability to take punishments. But yeah, that's something that they just kind of dropped for the sequels.
Yeah,
you can kind of believe it because it's a doll. It's not going to get hurt. You can't hurt a doll by shooting it. So
no.
He does have a weak spot. It's the heart. So there are rules in this universe.
I think, and as much as the sequels are just trashy fun, this is a legitimately good horror film. The believability that's going to happen along the sequels, you're going to just have to let go. You're just going to have to let go. There's no fucking way on earth that he should even continue after this, because the reasoning they give in parts 2 and 3 are the dumbest fucking thing you ever heard of in your life. We're gonna take this thing back to the factory and tear it apart and put it back together. Yeah, sure. Oh, we're gonna melt this one down and build a whole new doll of it. No, you're not. Nobody would do this.
That'd be so expensive. Just throw it away.
So goddamn dumb. Why? Yeah. But yeah, then they just kind of let go, and they know how ridiculous they are by the time Bride of Chucky comes around, and I'm here for it, because then it's just almost a spoof. Yeah,
then it's fun. And then I should say that the remake with Aubrey Plaza is actually really good too.
I haven't seen it.
It takes it's the same kind of premise of like, except the doll has like kind of an AI thing.
That is easier.
So it's sort of,
because that's easier to transfer, because artificial intelligence can load itself anywhere into the internet and just continue in other ways. And sadly, it wasn't very successful, so I don't think there'll be any continuations. But the other Chucky franchise, is it weird that we have 2 Chucky things going at the same time?
Yeah, they have a TV show too.
Yeah, and there's the direct-to-video movies, which are way better than they have any right to be. And then apparently the TV show is great too. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but I'm planning on seeing it.
Yeah.
I think it's the remake's a little underrated. It goes a little schlocky at the end, but I think it's a great setup, and it's surprisingly emotional too.
Yeah.
It has a good emotional beat to it.
Our knee-jerk reaction to condemning any remake is absurd, because if you think about a lot of the greats that I grew up with, I almost put you in my category, but I'm way older. Are you even 30 yet? You're not even close to 30, are you?
I'm 29. I'm almost
29.
30.
Okay, I can't remember. I've known you for so long, but I couldn't remember how old you were when we first started working together.
I think I was like 20. Well, I think I was 20.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, it's almost been a decade since I left, so yeah. So I'm thinking, like, okay, so when I was a kid, we had The Thing, The Fly, The Blob. Those are all remakes. They're all fantastic, and there's some scattered throughout. There's some that are American remakes of foreign films. There's a lot of them that are just love letters to the genre, which in a way can be considered like almost a remake. Like American Werewolf in London is just a love letter to all those old horror films, and just doing it with modern special effects. I mean, I don't know why people bitch constantly. Yeah, there was a period though where I think that they were remaking the slashers, and a lot of them were really phoning it in. But there's still some good stuff in there. That first Hills Have Eyes was fantastic. Mm. And some people like the Halloween remakes. It's not my particular taste, because I don't like Rob Zombie's movies besides the very first one that he did. But there's still good stuff in there. So I just don't understand why everybody's all back, this is shit!
I think it's more just like Hollywood has no original ideas, but I mean, you can do a remake that has new ideas in it.
Yeah.
The remake of Chucky is a totally different kind of movie.
Yeah, well, same thing for The Thing. That was a completely different interpretation of the concept. Yeah. It is bothersome though when they constantly continue. Well, that's the same thing with sequels. If you're not advancing the world that you've created, then what's the point? I don't I'm not excited in any way to see the new Jurassic Park, because I feel like they're just doing the same thing. Here's what I want, and this is never going to happen. Now the dinosaurs are teaming up with the humans to take on aliens from outer space.
Wait, are you saying that's what the new one is? Or
no, that's what I want. I want someone riding a fucking... I want a little kid...
That would be fine.
Yeah, riding a raptor, whatever, taking on creatures from another planet.
At this point, why the fuck not?
Right? Jurassic World, or Jurassic Planet is what they should call it. Well, if it's Jurassic World, man, just go ahead. Don't make it like a fucking amusement park again. We already did that.
Take them to space, Jurassic Universe, why not?
Alright, Galaxy of the Dinosaurs. Planet of the Dinosaurs. Oh! Planet of the Apes, but the apes are riding dinosaurs.
Oh my god, dude. Oh, why are we not in Hollywood right now?
Because we only come up with concepts. I can't write a full idea.
That's true. I can't sit down and write for longer than 2 minutes.
I feel like I should put a cigar in my mouth. I have an idea, man! Alright, so I think we have one more run of movies from 1988 to go. And then we moving on to 1989, the year horror basically died. It's going to get weird after that, kids, because then we're only going to get like maybe 4 horror movies a year, and the rest are going to be like thrillers. The quotation from hell movies are going to take over. Because of a Fatal Attraction making so much damn money. And then all of a sudden, that's the new genre until horror is revived in '96. By the way, did you see Scream 5?
No, I did not.
I saw it, and I'm fine with what they've done, and that they're trying to force people into Part 6. Move on, people. Move on. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I mean, like, what did they add any sort of new premise to it, or is it just kind of...
but they add a whole new cast, basically, that is going to take the concept somewhere else. They're going to try to take it out of Woodsboro. They're going to New York with Part 6, and they have the survivors of Part 5 and some other people mixed in, but they're like, well, we need Sidney Prescott. I'm like, the story's done.
You don't need her.
Huh?
So you don't need her.
Yeah, it's a ghost face that people are interested in. It's like the Jason movies.
Like, who cares? Like, she's not... Like, I understand that Laurie Strode is kind of important to the Halloween franchise. Makes sense.
Is it really?
I'm saying you don't. Yeah. I'm saying you don't need her, but it's understandable why you would add her into a movie.
I'm still fucking mad at that franchise. How many times are you going to go over and reboot again? At this point, they're going to have to do like they did with Spider-Man, where they're going to have to introduce different universes of Halloween for it to make sense.
Well, like, the whole thing with the Ghostface Killer is that he doesn't have like a set standard of people that he wants to kill. That's the point, is because if you randomize it, that makes you a more efficient killer. So the fact that they want to kill the same person over and over again doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. This obsession that people have, and the whole movie is about toxic fandom. It's amazing. It's like the subtle like commentary the whole way. Whenever someone says elevated horror, which they bring up in that movie, I just think of the tall man from Phantasm. That's elevated horror.
What about, wasn't there, didn't they remake, no, they did a sequel in the style of the new Halloween movies of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, didn't they?
Yeah, for Netflix. I haven't seen it yet.
And they got like the some of the characters from the first movie, and no one even remembered them because like who cares?
It's dumb.
Even by the sequel, they have moved on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. I love that second Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You see, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is coming out in this whole cleaned up 4K. I think in a couple months. Oh, it's gonna look gorgeous.
If you want an idea of like how to take a movie franchise, look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 1 and 2. That should be your blueprint of like how you extend a series.
Yeah, you kick it in the nuts and you inject some fucking craziness to it, and I'm there for it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're almost to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I can't wait.
I know, that with Matthew McConaughey, right?
No, that's Viggo Mortensen. The third one, fourth one is Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, okay, I'm getting confused.
Nah, it's okay. They're all kind of confusing. The whole franchise is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so
is the one we're about to watch the one where the guy gets his fingers shot off by the machine gun?
Wow, I don't remember that part. I haven't seen it forever. I just remember Viggo Mortensen's the bad guy, and they kind of go back to the roots. Here's the crazy thing is, it doesn't matter how much you change the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies because it never had a fluid storyline. It was always over the place. But with Halloween, the fact that they keep going, well, we're going to go with these 3, and then, oh, no, we fucked that up. Let's go back to the beginning again. Like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're, like, I was okay with the first Halloween sequel, the one from like 2018 or whatever.
Yeah, it's fine, but it's H2O again. It really is the same.
Yeah, Laura should have died in that one, and then I would have been fine with it.
Yeah, I was fine back with Part 4 when they introduced her daughter.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all over the place. There's some little gems here and there, but it's not a solid series.
Yeah, one day I'll see Halloween Kills, but
no, don't do
it. Is that bad?
It's so bad.
Oh no, that's there. All right. So that is it for this episode. Check us out on Facebook and all your podcast hosts. I burned Twitter to the ground. I've just had enough. I can't do it anymore.
Hey, good for you, man.
It makes me so angry all day, every day, and it's not good for my health. So
yeah, that was me with Facebook. As soon as I was done with it, my life got so much better.
Yeah, I tagged you sometimes in the episodes, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right, cool.
You'll be famous. You won't even know it.
Or I'll be canceled and I won't even know it either because I don't use it. I got the perfect defense for anything.
Nice. I don't. I'm an idiot. All right, we're out.
All right, bye, folks.